The second client is another painting contractor in the St. Louis area over on the Missouri side. And I'll just kind of run through this here quickly for the last few minutes here. So when we first met them, they did about $275,000 in 2020, had a lot of credit card debt, didn't have any financial systems in place. They were growing like crazy. They went from 3 employees to 7 within about 3 months. And we're just trying to figure out how to sell enough work to stay busy. They had one owner, and he was pretty much maxed out for time. When I first met him, he was literally spent every day on his job sites working, painting alongside his guys. Their finances were kind of a wreck. They didn't really have a good marketing plan. What we figured out is that they were going over budget on the hours that he was estimating. So all the jobs, he would estimate it, say, for 40 hours, and they were taking 50 to 60 to complete. So their profitability wasn't very good. We had him start doing the job costing, which is the profit per job that I mentioned earlier. And somehow it was way off as well. We realized that he was reporting about $13,000 in labor each month. And when we looked at the actual expenses, he was paying out $19,000. So then we had to dive deeper and figure out where the disconnect was. One thing we found is he wasn't factoring in his project manager's salary into those numbers, which is about $4,000 a month. He also found out that he was paying his employees for lunches all year, which is a great thing. I think it's awesome when your finances can support it to not, have your employees take unpaid lunches. But what we figured out was with the amount of employees they have, if they only took a 30-minute lunch, he was paying $11,000 a year just in lunches because he was trying to create a great culture with his employees. And honestly, some of them probably abused that unintentionally from time to time. So I'm sure that number was more 13 to 15,000. They also didn't factor in meeting times, other non-production activities. There's just a lot of kind of disconnect going on between what was happening and what he thought was happening. Same thing on the material side of things. They were reporting about $2,600 a month in expenses, and their Sherwin-Williams bill was actually about $5,500 a month on average. And what we've, again, dove deep, figured out, tracked every penny coming in and out of the company, that he wasn't factoring in when they would do big bulk material purchases, big paint purchases. They weren't tracking things properly. He was job costing based on how many gallons he thought they were going to need and not what they actually purchased and stuff. So they also were holding quarterly company trainings, which, again, going back to the culture thing, I think is great. But they spent $1,500 on wages paid each day they did it, right? They would take all 5 to 6 of their employees out of the field and pay them an entire day to go to this training that they would host, which added value. They also would lose about $2,500 in revenue. They'd spend $500 to $1,000 to do something fun, whether it was Top Golf, whether it was something else. So another loss of about $11,000 a year in profit when you do that once a quarter for 4 quarters. And so, we're a big proponent of giving back to your employees and creating a healthy work environment. But when you're doing it at a dear cost to your business, when things aren't sound as it is, it's not a good situation. But here's where they finished up at. This is the cool part. They did about $450,000 in 2021. So they almost doubled the size of their business. They're actually tracking the profitability. They're on the right path. They paid off about $8,500 of their debt over the last 4 to 6 months. They've got all their deposits, everything set aside, their systems in place. And the coolest part, the owner's working on the job site about 5 to 10 hours per week now as needed, and viewing his business like a business owner, which I love to see that with contractors. So if you know somebody that can relate, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with them. These are 2 of many, many examples, and I'll continue to share stories here after going through Maximize Your Membership.